Hi there, I'm Dan.
I'm Peter.
Now recently, Nigel Farage came here to our town to do a video on asylum seekers at the Britannia Hotel.
Now we've lived in Bromsgrove almost all our lives. This was my school.
And this was mine.
And we think his video might have got a few things wrong. So we're here to set the record straight.
Now we're not going to get into the politics and nationwide stuff. This is about the facts in Bromsgrove.
The first worrying claim was this.
At the local hotel were 147 young men.
A little village in Worcestershire, and you got 147 young blokes.
We wanted to speak to someone who had actually been to the hotel. So we got Helen, Joanna and Sam from the group supporting our Bromsgrove asylum seekers. You've had contact with them, is that true?
We got in touch with Serco, the management company, to find out what would be the best way we could help and what the needs were. And we were told then that there were families. And then our own visits to the hotel, we've seen them for ourselves with our own eyes, lots of them. We believe at the start there were at least 20 families. So if you calculate that a family is a mum and a dad and one child even, that's at least 60 that were in there from the very start, and we know those numbers are going up all the time.
Okay, so something else that had been claimed was that the media hadn't reported this story.
There's no media reporting of this whatsoever.
You know, I thought that I'd read that they had, so I double-checked this with reporter Harry Leach.
So in April we covered the story, in May we covered the story, and then obviously we covered the story in August as well after Nigel had visited Bromsgrove. So those claims are completely false. In the April story, what we reported on was the fact that the Home Office was earmarking Bromsgrove for a place for asylum seekers to stay. We didn't say exactly where, but then in the May story we did actually say it was at the Bromsgrove Spa Hotel.
Apparently we all knew about it and we were supportive according to our local newspaper.
Did the Standard say this?
Well, I know what you're referring to. It was the lady in the video who said that, and locals had asked us to contact Serco, the Home Office, police and the council, which we did, and that was the May story when we revealed that the asylum seekers were at the hotel, and what we are actually quoting was Serco, who told us, by and large, the Bromsgrove community were happy for the asylum seekers to be there, and obviously the police also told us the same thing, and if anyone can go to the story and see that we are quoting Serco, so it's not the paper that's saying that, it is coming from a spokesperson at Serco.
Were there complaints about these asylum seekers?
Well, the Cats Hill councillor, Shirley Webb, was quoted in the local papers saying that there had been some, but she also said it's getting better. Because you've had contact with Serco, I don't know whether you could tell me about where they might have got that from.
I think it was probably a direct response from groups like ours, the local churches that galvanise themselves, other groups that particularly support refugees, all getting in touch with the hotel and Serco. In fact, the first week that they were there, they were absolutely bombarded with just individuals going up and taking stuff in a completely uncoordinated way, which is kind of where we stepped in and tried to make it more coordinated.
Okay, next point. Is this accommodation really temporary?
Sergeant Javid promised it'd be temporary, but when we tried to book a room, there are no rooms to book.
We asked Janet King, who has contacts inside Serco and with the asylum seekers.
It will be a temporary arrangement. I know they are talking already about an exit strategy, but there are no dates at all yet. And it depends whether there's a second wave of coronavirus. They're actually there for their safety and for ours.
That's a quote from the Home Office, and if I could just read their quote to you, that'd be great. So the Home Office told us that we moved asylum seekers where necessary to do so in temporary accommodation to protect them and ensure social distancing. This is to help stop the spread of coronavirus in line with the public health guidance. We would like to acknowledge the work the local authorities have done to support these temporary measures.
That was interesting. We wondered what else Nigel had gotten wrong.
We've no idea who some of these people are. We've no idea whether some of these might be ISIS.
So am I right in thinking that if someone comes to this country and then they want to claim asylum, then before they get sent, to somewhere like Bromsgrove, they'll already have had a screening.
Yes, yes. At which point they could be turned round and sent back. It does happen.
So I've met some people and heard some things.
We know the asylum seekers are here temporarily,
They've all been screened.
and they're not all young men.
I was told that there was a consultation.
No, there wasn't. No.
What I did is I went to speak to a district councillor, Harrison Rowan Clark, to see if he could confirm these things that I'd heard.
The reason why there wasn't in these circumstances because the Home Office was completely the driver of this. I mean, quite embarrassingly, I wrote to the leader of the council thanking her for saying that Bromsgrove was open to asylum seekers, and then she wrote back saying it was nothing to do with me.
Well, according to leader of the Bromsgrove Council, Karen May, she released a statement. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, the government removed the need to agree asylum seeker accommodation with local authorities. This was a Home Office decision. This had nothing to do with the local council. This was all MPs, and our MP, Sajid Javid, should have made a statement.
But he might be a bit busy because he's just got a new job at JP Morgan. I don't know whether during coronavirus within Bromsgrove district, if there have been housing arrangements for the local homeless.
Last time that I heard the statistics was a couple of months ago, so I'd hope it was only gone up since then. 80% of homeless people have been housed, and that represents every person that they've approached and offered housing to that's wanted housing has been housed. So that doesn't mean that people who said I'd rather sleep out on the streets. That means that a lot of people might be sofa surfing and more comfortable with friends and family that they know. But we've not neglected to look after our homeless. You know, it's not one or the other. Both groups of people have been housed. And finally, what happens if they get refused asylum?
They will move into the illegal slave economy in this country.
I work for an anti-trafficking charity, so I work in a crossover between asylum seekers and those who are in slavery in the UK, and there is a definite risk of asylum seekers being trafficked in the UK. That isn't a massive risk, but it isn't inevitable.
Do you have maybe an idea of how many are we talking out of everyone, out of 100% of asylum seekers, what kind of percentage are we looking at that might be at risk of that?
That is a bit of an unknown, I think, but the people that we support, I would probably say 50 to 60% of them have been refused asylum seekers.
We were almost glad to find something Farage has said that was partly true.
To finish, here was a great point from community activist Sam Evans.
It's okay for us to have debates and discussions on policy and politics and to disagree, but the key thing is if we are to have that debate, if we are going to have a credible debate, it needs to be based in fact.
Hopefully this video has cleared up some of the facts in Bromsgrove.
As Nigel says,
I want the full story of what is going on in our country.